Welcome back to Literature Guide. Today's video is about one of the types of English novel. We know that type by the name Gothic novel or Gothic romance. This video contains all the important information about Gothic novel, including definitions, features and examples. It covers most of the important works produced by major novelists in English literature. I have deliberately stuffed all that information into this video because a question is often asked in the exam on this particular topic. If you watch the video thoroughly, you will come to know my intention. I want to provide you maximum information about English literature. I will cover most of the topics related to English literature through this particular channel. Without wasting your time, let's dive into the video and enjoy it.
Gothic novel. The Gothic novel can be deemed as a child of the Romantic movement in English literature. It took birth amidst the reformatory and revolutionary events of the 18th century. The literature of the period unveiled the vices and follies of the wicked world and it projected virtue of man. The literature imparted some practical moral advice or exact knowledge of things. In the second half of the 18th century, a new form of fiction appeared on a literary scene. It is known as Gothic novel or Gothic romance. The term Gothic refers to medieval, barbaric, and wild. It has been hailed as Gothic for the content of the novels was deeply associated with the Middle Ages. It also reflected love for the wild and romantic. It clearly indicates its romantic taste. The Gothic fiction is a prose work of mystery, romance, secrets, persecution, revenge, thrill, violence, and adventure. The Gothic novel primarily deals with a writing that is romantic. The Gothic novel is usually set in old castles, haunted mansions, bleak and gloomy monasteries and convents, accursed houses, surrounded by wild and dense forest. It is important to note that the term Gothic has also been applied to the period of time preceding the Protestant era. The novelists have satirized the gullibility and credulity of superstitious peasants through their novels. They have despised cruelty and violence of barons and monks in the works. Owing to the participation of the supernatural agents in the action, the Gothic novel achieves great effect. It arouses wonder and curiosity in the readers. The dark chambers, the smoky and misty surroundings, barren landscapes, long and dark corridors, winding staircases, torture chambers, and feudal halls are effective tools of the Gothic fiction. The Gothic novels also include sudden appearances and disappearances of apparitions, living statues, shocking accidents, evil eye, witches, and black magic. It also comprises elopements, rescues, murders, molestation, and confinement. All these things add great effect to the Gothic fiction. Tobias Smollett's novel, Ferdinand Count Fathom, can be deemed as the earliest example of the Gothic novel. It was produced in 1753. Tobias Smollett put all the violence and whims of his temperament into the novel. But it was Horace Walpole's novel, The Castle of Otranto, which laid the foundation of the Gothic fiction. The novel appeared in 1764. The Castle of Otranto deals with the story of Prince Manfred. Manfred's son Conrad dies in an accident at his wedding to Isabella. Conrad's death shocks Manfred to great extent. He resolves to divorce his wife, Hippolyta, and marry Isabella. But Isabella is saved by Theodore. In this novel, Horace Walpole has employed several Gothic conventions like living statues, mysterious occurrences and apparitions. The Champion of Virtue of Clara Reeve appeared in 1777. It was republished as The Old English Barren in 1778. It is important to note that Clara Reeve has made the supernatural probable and appealing to the readers. William Beckford's Gothic novel, Vathek, An Arabian Tale was published in 1786. The novel was originally written in French, and it was translated into English by Samuel Henley. William Beckford's Vathek makes the readers recall Dr. Faustus of Christopher Marlowe. The novel deals with the story of Vathek who resolves to serve Iblis, the devil, in order to obtain omnipotence and treasure. On his journey, Vathek falls in love with a girl namely, Noor Nayar. After many trials and terrifying incidents, Vathek enters the territory of Iblis only to realize the futility and uselessness of all worldly things. William Hazlitt criticized the novel for the diabolical levity of its contempt for mankind. The novel also presents man's thirst for power and material things. It is clad in oriental color which recalls the Arabian Nights. There were some novelists like Anne Radcliffe, Charles Maturin and Matthew Gregory Lewis who set their novels in the Catholic countries, especially in Italy and Spain. They depicted the notoriety and hypocrisy of the Spanish Inquisition and cruelty and villainy of monks and nuns. They derived inspiration from the great writers like Christopher Marlowe, William Shakespeare, and John Milton. Matthew Gregory Lewis's novel, The Monk, became so famous that the author was nicknamed as Monk Lewis. He also wrote the books like Tales of Terror in 1800 and Tales of Wonder in 1808. Matthew Gregory Lewis had no moral message to impart as Anne Radcliffe. He embraced the German romances and touched the acme of horror and suspense in The Monk. There are scenes of horror, molestation, murder, witchcraft, and magic in the novel. The Monk deals with the story of Ambrosio who, unaware of his relationship with Antonia, his sister, pursues her to gratify his lust. The characters of Lucifer and Beelzebub appear in the novel. Ambrosio is doomed due to his sinful acts. The Romance of the Forest of Anne Radcliffe appeared in 1791. Anne Radcliffe was good at maintaining the suspense and devising shocking incidents. She treated her works with objectivity and gave rational and logical explanations for the supernatural. Her novels contained some moral message to the readers. Anne Radcliffe produced The Mystery of Udolpho in 1794. It deals with the story of Emily St. Aubert who is carried off by her aunt's villainous husband, Montoni, to a distant gloomy castle. He confines Emily in the castle, but Emily manages to escape from the trap of Montoni. It is important to note that Jane Austen criticized Anne Radcliffe's The Mystery of Udolpho in her novel Northanger Abbey. Jane Austen has presented the difference between the improbabilities of the Gothic fiction and the normal realities of life. Northanger Abbey was published in 1818. Charlotte Smith's Gothic novel, The Old Manor House, appeared in 1794. There is fine blending of the Gothic and sentimental elements in the novel. It deals with the romance between Orlando and Monimia. William Godwin's Gothic and propaganda novel, Caleb Williams, appeared in 1794. The novel contains crime, pursuit and detection. It is important to note that Thomas Love Peacock criticized the excessive use of Gothic elements in the novel. Anne Yeasley's Gothic novel, The Royal Captives, appeared in 1795. Anne Yeasley handled the supernatural elements artistically in the novel. Anne Radcliffe's Gothic novel, The Italian, was produced in 1797. It is a story of romance between an Italian nobleman, Vincentio di Vivaldi, and his love, Elena di Rosalba. Eleanor's love is disapproved by her aunt, Signora Bianchi. She sought help of the ruthless and cruel monks Guidoni in order to separate the couple. Sir Walter Scott praised Anne Radcliffe as the first poetess of romance fiction. Nathan Drake hailed Anne Radcliffe as the Shakespeare of romance. The readers can find fine description of nature in Radcliffe's novels. Anne Radcliffe wrote her novels in poetical language. Charles Maturin handled the supernatural elements with great skill. He produced The Fatal Revenge in 1807. The novel was published under the pseudonym Dennis Jasper Murphy. At the turn of the century, the writers produced Gothic fiction by employing a sinister, grotesque and claustrophobic atmosphere. They described more complex working of human emotions through their novels. Now, their novels do not have medieval setting. Mary Shelley's famous Gothic novel, Frankenstein, appeared in 1818, which was her masterpiece. Mary Shelley has depicted a creation of a monstrous being by human science. The novel influenced many film producers and writers of fiction. In Frankenstein, Mary Shelley has depicted Frankenstein as a student of natural philosophy who discovers the secret of imparting life to lifeless things. From charnel houses, he collects bones of dead human bodies, and he creates a creature which resembles human being. The novel holds another title, that is, The Modern Prometheus. The tale of Frankenstein is told through the letters of Walton, an English explorer. The novel has epistolary form and it has been deemed as the origin of modern science fiction. The Gothic novel, Melmoth the Wanderer, appeared in 1820, it was produced by Charles Maturin. Charles Maturin followed the footsteps of Anne Radcliffe while describing the suspense and mystery. He artistically maintained the interest of the readers by prolonging the suspense and horror to the end. The novel deals with the story of Melmoth who, like Dr. Faustus, mortgages his soul to devil for prolonged life. The novel was appreciated by William Makepeace Thackeray and Charles Baudelaire. James Hogg's novel, The Private Memoirs and Confessions of a Justified Sinner, is a quintessence of Gothic fiction. It was published in 1824. The novel contains many horrifying crimes, murder, suicide, and mystery. André Gide, the French novelist and critic. Emily Bronte's masterpiece, Wuthering Heights, is a fine example of the Gothic fiction. Emily Bronte has adroitly made use of flashbacks and time shifts in the novel. Wuthering Heights can be called as a tale of lust, avarice and revenge, and as tragedy of love. Nellie Dean is the narrator of the novel. Wuthering Heights was published in 1847. Charlotte Bronte's famous work, Jane Eyre, deals with a story of Jane who feels the presence of the unknown in the attic of Thornfield Hall. She comes to know that Bertha Mason, a madwoman in the attic, is Rochester's wife. Bertha has been in the confinement of Rochester. It is important to note that Jean Rhys's Wide Sargasso Sea is a prequel to this novel. The presence of Bertha Mason in the attic, the secret of her confinement, and Rochester's ill-treatment of Bertha, and psychological states of characters make this novel Gothic. Jane Eyre was published in 1847. Charles Dickens's novel Bleak House appeared in 1852. The novel contains violence, murders, and mystery. In the novel Bleak House, Charles Dickens has attacked the abuses of the old Court of Chancery. Another novel of Charlotte Bronte, namely, Villette, contains many Gothic elements. Villette was published in 1853. The novel presents religious tensions between the Protestant and the Catholic cultures. Lucy Snow is the narrator of the novel. The story of ghostly nuns, isolation and courage of Lucy add great effect to the novel. Charlotte Bronte's Villette has realistic explanations of the supernatural elements. Great Expectations of Charles Dickens appeared in 1860. The narrator of the novel is Philip Pirrip. The novel abounds with cruelty, tyranny, avarice, and psychological conflicts. In the 1860s, some features of Gothic fiction were shared by the sensation novel. Wilkie Collins's novel, The Woman in White, appeared in 1860. The novel comprises mystery, crime and detection. Sir Percival Glyde and his partner in crime, Count Fosco, are the villainous characters. Wilkie Collins excelled in arousing the sense of terror and in prolonging suspense of a mystery. Uncle Silas of Sheridan Le Fanu abounds in deceit, confinements, intrigue, murder, and mystery. It appeared in 1864. It is important to note that Sheridan Le Fanu's novel Uncle Silas is influenced by Anne Radcliffe's Gothic novel The Mystery of Udolpho. There was a slight change in the presentation of the Gothic fiction in the last decades of the Victorian era. The novelists employed possessed bodies instead of haunted mansions and castles. Robert Louis Stevenson's novel The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde appeared on the scene in 1886. Dr. Jekyll finds out a drug which can separate the good and evil elements of human nature. He gets success in creating a personality ugly and weird in appearance. He calls his creation Mr. Hyde, who represents evil. The expression Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde suggests split personality. The novel makes the readers recall Mary Shelley's famous novel Frankenstein. Oscar Wilde's novel The Picture of Dorian Gray contains Gothic elements. It appeared in Lippincott's magazine in 1890. It is important to note that Oscar Wilde's novel was not given a warm welcome. There is a description of people who look for nothing but pleasure and denying the existence of any other standard of conduct. Bram Stoker's famous vampire story Dracula aroused great interest in the literary world. It was published in 1897. The novel begins with Jonathan Harker's visit to Count Dracula's castle in Transylvania. Mr. Harker visits a ruined chapel and finds coffins of Draculas. One of the coffins contains undead body of a Dracula. The Dracula disembarks at Whitby from the ship. He gets a shape of a werewolf and tries to vampirize Lucy. The novel ends with the demise of Dracula. Van Helsing kills it. Bram Stoker's novel Dracula reigned for many decades in the literary world. The Turn of the Screw, a novella by Henry James, has many Gothic features. It appeared in 1898. The unnamed narrator, who is a governess, takes charge of two orphan children, Miles and Flora. The governess feels the presence of the unknown and thinks that the house is haunted. She believes that both Miles and Flora hold commune with the spirits of the dead former governess and ex-valet. Arthur Conan Doyle's novel, The Hound of Baskervilles, appeared in 1902. It belongs to the category of Gothic fiction. William Faulkner's novels Sanctuary and Absalom hold some features of the Gothic fiction. The novels appeared in 1931 and 1936 respectively. Daphne Du Maurier's famous novel, Rebecca, recalls Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. The novel was published in 1938. The mystery of the death Rebecca is unfolded when the narrator discovers that Rebecca was murdered by Maxim de Winter, her husband. Toni Morrison's novel Beloved appeared in 1987. The novel deals with the story of a former slave, Seta, who lives with her daughter, Denver. Seta also feels the existence of her dead baby girl in the house. One fine day, a girl named Beloved visits Seta's house, who is supposed to be the incarnation of her dead baby girl. The baby girl was murdered by Seta out of fear and frustration, and to prevent the girl being enslaved like her. The title of the novel is a symbol for the dead and slaves. Toni Morrison has dedicated this novel to 60 million and more. Thus, the English literature is fertile with many Gothic novels mentioned above. They reflect both the bright and dark colors of human life.
How is the video? If you like the video, please comment and subscribe Literature Guide. It is a kind of motivation to the YouTuber like me. It is not my profession. I am not a professional YouTuber. Okay, I have just started this channel to support students and provide them useful information about English literature. So please like, comment and subscribe Literature Guide. I will meet you soon with an interesting topic again in a few days. I have already made many videos on English literature. If you like, you can watch all those videos by visiting my channel. Meet you soon.
Please subscribe Literature Guide.